What's up, everybody, and welcome to the February edition of Picking Up the Crap, the series that looks at the NPD, Western U.S. market, hardware, and software numbers. Once again, it's your boy, the one and only Jodecideion, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, TheShooter.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good evening. Um, Glad to be here again. Hope to put some put some numbers together tonight.
All right, so as usual, we know the NPD, it covers the hardware and software sales totals in the U.S. market, and they're still real iffy with the numbers, so we don't have exact numbers. We have guesstimations from the good people at NeoGAF, things they put together by just using math and common sense, and then what facts they were able to find across the net. And so for the software numbers for February 2012, covering January 29th to February 25th, their number one best-selling game across four platforms. Once again, is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Number two, I believe a new release, Final Fantasy 13 Part 2 on PS3 and Xbox 360. Number three, I believe another new game, UFC Undisputed 3 across two platforms. Number four, the first game we actually had numbers for, selling 330,000 copies across three platforms. Reckoning, created by Kurt Schilling and his group, with the art from Todd McFarlane for you comic book fans. It's a new game, I guess, that started out on a PC or whatever, but it's now on the console market, and it sold 330,000 copies in the first month. And so everything below that is below that number. Just Dance across three platforms. Just Dance 3 is number 5. Number 6, NBA 2K12 across six platforms. Number 7, Soul Calibur 5 across two platforms. Number 8, Elder Scroll Skyrim across three. And number 9, a Sony exclusive, first month available, and long overdue, Twisted Metal 2012, sold 221,000 copies in its first month. And then we had number 10, Battlefield 3, across three platforms. When it comes to hardware numbers, we have once again a 360 dominating, selling 426,000 systems, but it was down about 21% from last year. Number two, the PlayStation 3, selling 360,000 systems, but it was down by 11% last year. Then we had the Nintendo 3DS selling 262,000 systems. The Wii came in at fourth, selling 228,000 systems, a drop of 50% from last year. And then using PR numbers and common sense and math, the PlayStation Vita, releasing in the US market last month, had about, I want to say, 3 to 4 days to chart. Ended up selling 225,000 systems in the US market. And finally, in that the hardware, the Nintendo DS selling 135,000 systems in the month of February. So February once again is just spiraling down in the overall gaming decline. The industry as a whole was down on the software side of things 24%, and the game industry itself was down a large percentage as well. I don't have the exact numbers, so I can't tell you exactly. But what's surprising though about the software decline is that last month we had a lot of new games, a lot of big new games released in February, and none of those games seem to help push software sales. Quite surprisingly, the AAA title for the newly released PlayStation Vita, the Uncharted Golden Abyss, didn't chart in the top 20. I understand it only had like 3 or 4 days to chart, but you think being on a new system that sold about 225,000 systems, if every one of those persons who bought a Vita bought Uncharted, that would have put it in the top 10, at least above Twisted Metal. And it's also at the same time, Resident Evil Revelations for the 3DS, a mega hit that dropped in the very first part of February, that fell to chart in the top 10. And we have no exact numbers of what that did in the U.S. market in the first month. But still, it had about 20 days, 20 plus days to chart, and it did it. So that game probably underperformed. Another game that was on two platforms, Azarus uh, Wrath for 360 and PS3. That new game by CyberConnect and Capcom, real over-the-top action game, but full of quick-time events. That game, according to information from NPD, only sold 36,000 copies. And I'm not sure if that's total on two platforms or just one platform, but still only 36,000 copies. And the game was on two platforms. Another game called The Syndicate only sold 34,000 copies across, I believe, two or three platforms. And so, I mean, there was a lot of games. Even something like Twisted Metal, a game that was an old school PlayStation franchise. It's one of the forefather of the PlayStation brand, their characters, their big games. And this game has been, I wouldn't say it's been hyped, but you think it was a large user base of fans who've been waiting for this game to buy it in the first month when it came out, and they only sold 221,000 copies of it. And so, I don't know what it is, man. Sure, you tell me. Why aren't people buying games right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, as you've mentioned before, and a lot of other people mentioned that we are going into a new generation. It is anticipated, even if Sony and Microsoft aren't going to have theirs out by this year. I still feel that anticipation has a lot of people kind of anxious for something new, or some type of new experience. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that there's anything wrong with the titles that are out, but just the fact that I think they're ready for something new. So you're going to find a lot less being purchased. And the way I always look at it too is just that that time of year, even for a really big title as we see, it's kind of hard. People, you don't get as many people jumping to it, so to speak.
I can see that, but when you got, Microsoft already coming out recently and saying there will not be a 360, a 720 or a new system this year. Next year it's going to be the big premiere, and launch of their new system. Sony's still trying to hold tight to that 10-year plan. If you're a PS3 or Xbox owner, you know you're not getting a new system anytime soon. So you still got games to buy. I mean, what are you saving your money for, basically? So it's real weird. But to see games like Twisted Metal not sell real well, to see great games like Resident Evil not sell real well out the jump, to see a game like Uncharted on the Vita, their main launch title, not doing that well is real surprising to me. So now with that, I want to segue into the whole Vita discussion. The Vita, and this is estimates from the people at NeoGAF, just putting numbers together using common sense. They believe that the Vita sold in its launch period about 225,000 systems. That's about half of what the 3DS did a year ago in its launch period, and they're both on the market about the same amount of days, about three or four, give or take. Also, both at the same price. I mean, the only thing I can say about that, when we're just comparing the numbers together, it just basically means that at launch, the Nintendo fans, the people who wanted the 3DS, were just more ready for it. They had their money saved up and they were ready to get it at launch compared to the Vita. But then the Vita at the same time, even though the retail says it's this amount, you got to add in the fact of the two different versions. The 3G version being $50 more. You got to add in the cost of you have to get that memory card and things of that nature. And then also, people don't look at it this way, but it's a fact. The Vita is a portable PS3, so it offers those same type of games. And if you didn't buy Uncharted 3 during Christmas last year, odds are you ain't gonna buy Uncharted Golden Abyss. The new Marvel vs. Capcom that was on the Vita. Why, odds are you probably bought it on your PS3 already, so you're not gonna get that either. And I think a lot of that went into what affected the Vita. People not buying it, at least and not the same numbers Sony was hoping for, because they touted the whole they've already sold 1.2 million systems, but we kind of found out that was the estimate of what they did in the Western market, add on to what they already did in the in the Japan market. And so if I'm Sony, I'm really gonna be. I need to watch this, and I know they've already did this whole thing talking about well, the Vita's gonna be a 10-year system and everything, but you know, You don't determine how long your product's going to be on the market. You know what I'm saying? If you're not selling that product, the retailer's not going to carry that product. You know, and then your shelf space goes to another product that is selling. Ask Sega about that. They know if you ain't gonna sell the product, they're not gonna hold on to it till you start selling. And so Sony need to do something about getting the Vita into more hands of consumers before it's too late. You know, especially when you got something like iPad that just came out and they sold 3 million systems in a matter of 2 days, and it cost two Vitas. You know what I'm saying? Something's wrong with that picture. You can buy people want to buy iPads for 500 bones by the boatloads. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got gamers who say they love gaming and they won't go out and buy their handheld they want to support. You know, especially with all the hype we've been hearing about the Vita. How it's a second coming. It's a marvel of technology. What is support for it then?
Yeah, you just you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. That support is one of the is basically the key factors. When I first started following sales and everything else, I never realized exactly what went into what, but it didn't take me long to learn that it takes software to sell hardware, and the software is pretty much your lion's share of your sales, especially if you're a first party publisher like Nintendo.
Right.
So with that being said, and I'm glad you mentioned this whole thing with Sega. You got to have, now a lot of times you can have a compelling software, but it's like, but where, again, where's your competitive drive? And to me, I don't really see that in the Vita as much. And I'm critiquing it, but I'm critiquing it based off of truth, because it's like, you said it already. If you already got Uncharted 3, why would you get a Golden Abyss? Okay, yeah, it's a different game, but it's still Uncharted.
Right.
People try to talk about Mario. They try to say Mario is a, this, that, and the other, but we all know that Mario is normally the most that they have spread apart is at least a year, and it's a different game.
Right. Right.
So with that, long story short, you got to have that. Again, you got to have that support, that real support. You couldn't just put out. Basically, it's almost, to me, in reality, it's harsh, but Sony put out basically an empty shell without any backing to it,
Right.
and charged $250 to $300 for it. That's what it was equivalent to me.
Right. Exactly. All right. So we'll move on to our next subject. Um, I don't know if you've been noticing, but I've been noticing the past couple of days. There've been some big releases for some new IPs, new games for the handhelds and home consoles, and they've been getting some rather strange reviews from various sites. For instance, Ninja Gaiden 3 for the PS3 and Xbox. IGN gave it a 3 out of 10. Amazing. I've never seen the game get a score like that. And then the next day, IGN decided to give the new Resident Evil Raccoon City shooter type game. Excuse me. They gave it a 4.0, a 4 out of 10. And so my question to you, Shooter, is: do you think that the scores? I mean, IGN is not the be all of score reviews. In the industry, everybody review score. There's 100 guys reviewing games and 100 guys giving their own scores. But IGN is one of the well-known gaming sites, and there's other sites that gave similar scores as well, low scores. Do you think that the low review scores, the drastically low review scores of these games, is going to have effect in next month NPD to where we might not see the Resident Evil or the Ninja Gaiden 3 charting in the top 10?
For them to give a game like like Ninja Gaiden a score like that from the other two, the previous games and everything being popular, it kind of to me, it just kind of shows that, yeah, something might have went awry, but other than that, I think it would be a combination of things that would affect the sales.
Well, all right, people. Appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed this month look at the NPD February sales. We're going to see you next month with a look at the March numbers. So for picking up the crap, I'm your boy, the one and only Jodecideion.
And this is the shooter. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Y'all have a good night.
All right, y'all take care.